If I've been known for anything in my career, it's buying, scaling, and selling businesses. So I'm going to give you some quick tips on how you can either buy a business, scale a business, or exit a business. In my career, over 125 exits so far and climbing. We have 27 companies now. I have 2 to 3 of them right now that are actually in potential for exit. So instead of teaching you philosophy today, I'm going to teach you a little bit more tactics because I really want you to understand the opportunity that's out there today. You have somewhere between 3 million and 15 million baby boomers leaving their place of business in the next 7 to 10 years. This is staggering. The number right now is that there are over 12 million baby boomers that own a mid-sized business or smaller, meaning that there is going to be some transition in leadership in the next 7 to 10 years. Mark my words. This is the wealth transfer that we're going through. Here's this person walks in and says, "Hey, I see your business is for sale. I'll make you a deal." Instead of me putting a bunch of money down, I'm going to actually set aside some money to run the practice, run this office that you have, and I'll give you a residual income for years to come, up until we pay you $1 million. The dentist thinks about it, realizes it's the best play for legacy. It's the best play to avoid a big tax event by selling this business for $1 million cash. And he decides this might be the easiest thing, and because of the zeal of this person that's in his business, I'm going to sell it. This is how businesses are sold today. So many of them are not being purchased by SBA loans or cash. They're being owner financed because less than 2% of businesses are actually selling. So if they've sat on the market for long enough, the business owner is just frustrated. They don't know what to do. And that's what's happening all across America. The massive wealth transfer that's going to happen is going to happen just like that. And it may be an SBA loan that buys it. It might be equipment financing that buys it. There's a lot of different ways to buy a business, but this is how businesses are being sold today. And you are missing out on the gold rush if you are not purchasing or looking at these businesses. So you've got this business now, and what do? There are 5 pillars to every single business. This is where you actually have to start. The 5 pillars are leadership. Where am I going? What's the purpose of this business? What's the end destination? Next, it's operations. How do we functionally operate, right? Like, do we have a system? Can we replicate that system? Are we cross-training our people? Next is personnel. You have to know the strength of your personnel. Are the people that you've acquired people worth keeping? Can you help them along the way? If you got a 75-year-old dentist in the chair, do you also have, a 75-year-old receptionist that's not really interested in staying much longer, right? Like, you have to understand the personnel. You have to understand finance. That's number 4, right? Finance. That's fundamentally, like, do you actually know your numbers? And lastly, we group sales and marketing together. If you understand these 5 pillars of business, then you understand the gaps that are in these businesses. And in those 5 pillars, you will find gaps in every business, and that is where you focus. So what I do is I have what's called fractional people, fractional positions that are already trained and ready to go. Under the Empire, let's say, consulting brand, I have fractional COOs. We have access to fractional CFOs, chief financial officers. We have fractional, by the way, COOs, chief operating officer. We have fractional CIOs, chief information officers, right? We have fractional CROs, chief revenue officers. And so what I do is I look at this business and I say, fundamentally, these are the gaps that I have. The biggest issue of the business is that then you have to determine how much revenue can it generate, right? And can it cover its own? Well, the problem is that oftentimes in those 5 pillars, I see a deficiency. And usually the way to overcome that deficiency is to hire somebody to jump in there. Well, the problem is I want to hire a rock star. I want to hire somebody at the highest level. But I don't necessarily want to pay $250,000 a year for that person. So what I have is I have a bunch of fractionals, and I will tap the shoulder of a fractional and say, hey, I need you in this business for the next 3 to 6 months. I can now afford it like the lowest, it's almost the cheapest employee that I have in that business. But what they are there for is to increase my efficiency and ultimately productivity. Then once I actually have the foundation of operations, I want to pour gas on the fire, right? So then I have fractional CROs, chief revenue officers, that come in and help me determine where are the opportunities to grow revenue in this company, right? And then I look at now creating what we call enterprise value. Enterprise value. So this is the last step in this journey. How do I know if I want to scale this business? How do I know if I want to exit this business? Well, now I'm going to take you to the 3 things that I've been asked on every single exit of a business. Number 1, they're going to ask you, what is your EBITDA, your bottom line, your net? They're going to ask you your financial numbers. If you don't know your financial numbers, you don't know what percentage of profitability you have, you don't understand what it fundamentally costs to operate this business, and you're going to sell a business off of 1 or 2 things. Number 1, you're going to sell it off of EBITDA, right? Or you're going to sell it off of a top line revenue stat. Number 2, do you have an operating system? The reason I built the Empire Operating System is as I was exiting my businesses, these private equity firms and others wanted to know, what's the playbook? How do we actually operate this? Because if I don't give them the playbook, the system, here's how we do it, then what they're going to ask is, can you come with the business and run it? Number 3, here's the biggest thing, and that's your IP. What actually sets you apart? What is fundamentally different about you? And so we need to be documenting our systems, our processes, but also we have to document how we do things. What's our technology that supports it? If you can build unique technology to this business, you'll get a much larger multiple on the exit. How do you curate your data? What are the things that set you apart from the competition? That's your IP, right? And so those 3 things get asked every single time I've exited a business. And if I check the box of every single one, my revenue's in order, right? I'm making money. I'm profitable. I'm profitable year over year, right? Number 2, I've got a system. Here's the manual essentially on how to run the business. Number 3, I've got very unique properties inside of this business that make us unique, whether it's technology, it's data, it's systems, it's how we do things, right? Now I've got the recipe for getting the largest potential for exit. And if you have those 3 things that I just talked about, you're more likely to be in that top 2% of businesses that actually sell. Because when you have a system, you have IP, and you know your numbers, you're very, very attractive for acquisition.
My very first exit was an unintentional exit. I was just trying to source capital, and some corporate giants came in kind of behind the scenes, took advantage of me at a level that I didn't even know the game we were playing, and at the last hour, it was like, hey, by the way, this is about what's going to happen to you. And it cost me, it probably cost me in the long run 20 to 30 million that I could have had personally. Like, it was a big, big lesson. And they gave me 24 hours to make a decision. I was outclassed. I was outplayed. I had no idea. I really had no business playing the game that they were playing because I wasn't prepared. And so I'm driving back in the next day. I have to go in and sign some papers, mad and frustrated. And the words of my mother kind of like came back, like, in any low, if you can find gratitude in the moment, it becomes a catalyst for your greatest lessons in life. And I started thinking, I was like, this is interesting. I'm trying to get to a place of like positivity. Like, how do I actually see the benefit in what just happened to me? And it dawned on me, they were actually giving me what's in the business realm, like in the exiting companies, what was called 7 times multiple on my EBITDA, right? So like, if I were to work the same amount of hours for the next 7 years doing the exact same thing, and I didn't see any increase or decrease, essentially what they're doing is giving me 7 years of my life back in this moment. Now, I might have wanted 10 or 20 years of my life back, but they're giving me 7. And I found this like moment of gratitude on the way back in after like one of the worst days of my business career. I thought, you know what? If I could live my life today as if I'd want to live it in 7 years with this revenue, what would my life look like? I started to like, who gets that blessing in life, right? Like, and then it became the catalyst or the mantra of how I do business. How do I shrink down my time so that instead of living, trying to live 100 lifetimes, and dying with this expectation of giving back later, what if I could actually live 100 lifetimes today in this process of shrinking down time by selling something at an exponential multiple without having to go through the process and then take that capital and go do something massive with it.